Again, we were misled that there was supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
What difference does it make? Those words are infamous. And did she say those words? So to avoid the question, was it the video or not? Well, we have someone who knows, who can give us the answer. His name is Roger Stone. Now, Roger Stone, I love having this guy on because, again, he contributed to Reagan's rise to the White House, as well as Reagan Bush in '84. He was senior advisor to my hero, Jack Kemp. And for many years, a lobbyist, a very good friend of mine, Donald Trump, on behalf of his casinos. He's a member of the Libertarian Party. And he also served as Nixon Man of War. What a background he has. Roger Stone, thank you for coming on.
Phil, I am delighted to be with you.
Oh, that's great. Just, I know we have a little bit of time, but let's get to that first. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's comment on that.
What is absolutely clear is that Hillary lied, people died. And if you want to look at the big picture here, Hillary Clinton aided the Obama administration because they were concerned, because they did not want it known before the presidential election that, in fact, America had interests abroad, had been attacked by al-Qaeda, the same people who attacked us at 9/11, and that 4 Americans died. They did not want to acknowledge that in the run-up to the 2012 election. So they invented this fiction of an anti-Islamic video, which theoretically showed in Egypt. They tried to tell us in the New York Times that there were demonstrations outside our embassy in Cairo caused by the video, a precursor to the attack motivated by that video, the attack by a mob overrunning our mission in Benghazi. That is a total fabrication. The U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee report, a bipartisan report by Republicans and Democrats, shows that Hillary Clinton and her people made at a minimum, they made a series of terrible decisions, but State Department underlings spoke openly in emails about the political optics of increasing security at our mission. We called it a mission because if it were an embassy or a consulate, it would have a higher minimum security requirement. There were only 3 armed guard personnel in this facility. We had ample warning from all the security index studies of terrorism that terrorism was on the rise. There were 20 incidents at the mission, outside the mission, in the months previous to the attack that overran the place. Bombs, hand grenades.
It wasn't at that point. I don't want to cut you in, but this I think is very important. Isn't that at the point when they had those incidents that the CIA told Clinton, told her listen, the embassy was at risk and an attack by local militia or terrorist groups could happen? And didn't Stevens ask for the security at that time?
Stevens asked for increased security
at that time.
He was freaked out in June of 12, in July in 12, and twice in August of 12. He was not denied. He was ignored. The CIA increased their security at the annex. There were 11 security upgrades. We don't know what they are because they're redacted. They greatly increased the number of armed guards. And in fact, the night the mission was overrun in a precision military type operation, by the way, not an unruly mob. Commanders, people who dropped back, they set up roadblocks in the perimeter to make sure that no American escaped alive. This was an al-Qaeda operation. Ansar al-Sharia, the militia that attacked our embassy, is very clearly, if you read the Senate report, the same militia that Stevens armed to protect him. That's the dirty little secret here. And if you read the redactions and the conclusions, it becomes very clear. It's the most important thing, I think, in the report. So we may have actually armed those who killed Stevens and his brave compatriots.
Wow.
They were killed by the same people who killed the 2,000 Americans on 9/11. And they knew the political risk, you're right, having said Al-Qaeda is on the run, to have Al-Qaeda attack any U.S. interest with the loss of American lives. It was a political dynamite. So this is the greatest cover-up since Watergate.
Help me with the timeline here. Now, am I right? Within a short time after the attack, didn't General Ham, the FBI, the CIA director, didn't they meet with the president and the Clinton, and were told the attack had nothing to do with the video? And that was before they went out to the Rose Garden to make the speech, and before she spoke with the survivors, and she went up to him and said, "This is all about the video. We're going to make sure we're going to bring him to justice."
She shook the hand of Tyrone Wood's father, and she said, "I promise you, we're going to track down and prosecute the people who made this video."
But she already had the meeting with General Ham and FBI and the CIA.
She was more interested in sticking to her political narrative, in which the Clinton, Obama people would have no blame.
And that's why she set up this. Explain this accountability review board that she talked about. Wasn't that set up so she wouldn't be interviewed?
Yes, and basically she tried to duck the U.S. Senate because of her slip and fall, and her slip and fall is problematic. They admit she had a blood clot on her brain. So if she's got health issues, that needs to be looked at for 2016. But additionally, it's very clear that politics got in the way of American lives. Political considerations took a greater precedence to the security of the men and women serving the United States government.
Roger, can you bring us through the timeline of the raid and where I understand there was different buildings and one group went back to another building to try to save the other guys. Give us a little background on what actually happened that night.
There are actually 3 attacks on American interests. We had a security team that was just landing at the Benghazi airport. That was a team of 9 men. Remember, there are only 3 armed men at the mission. And there's also a group coming from the CIA to the mission, where our people are trapped.
So you had just 2 armed men at the mission, then just 2.
Correct.
And those are the Navy.
Mission. There are 3 guards.
Okay.
And Stevens.
All right.
The first thing that the team gets to the airport and does is try to negotiate both transportation and the armed support of some local militia. The group that has been providing security for the mission, they decline. They're standing there with their guns and their motorized vehicles and most importantly their machine guns, which is really what we need to acquire.
Right.
And they won't play ball.
Wow.
That tells you a lot right there.
Wow.
So then they decide to go directly to the mission. They get to the mission, and they find that Stevens and 1 man are missing. The other 2 are dead.
Wow.
They ultimately they find the ambassador's cell phone, and somebody starts calling it and saying that the ambassador's been taken to the hospital. He calls so many times that they begin to believe that it is a trap, a plot,
right,
to lure them to the hospital.
My special guest today is Roger Stone. He's the author of the Benghazi Report, and he's the author of the forward to the Benghazi Senate report. Now, he put a lot of time into the investigation, including all the testimony. He went through all the testimony. He's the one that knows really what went on, and we're pleased to have him with us today. And Roger, let's pick up where we left off. You talked about the hospital. They thought it was a trap. They kept on using the cell phones. Take it from there.
Yeah, so ultimately, the Libyans refused to go forward. We decide that we're going to skip the hospital. Our security team does, and they proceed to connect with a party from the CIA annex, and they both go now after the fact.
Now, how many people is that now?
The embassy. Well, they don't really tell us because it's redacted.
Okay, go ahead.
But obviously a sizable enough number.
Okay.
We're going to assume 11, 12 armed men who know what they're doing.
Okay.
And they are headed. They go to the embassy. They tear through the embassy looking for the ambassador, and Smith, who are both missing at that point. They don't find them, and from there the whole thing proceeds. They return to the CIA annex. They ultimately, some middleman approaches them, and he has the bodies of both.
Oh, jeez.
So then they don't really tell us who that is, because it's somebody inside the other side.
Right.
So they somehow get the body from a local middleman, and then they go back to the CIA annex. The annex is then attacked twice, but because the CIA had 11 still classified upgrades to their security and a large contingent of men not only already there at the base, but added to, they repelled 2 attacks without loss of American life. And we took some of them out. There were definitely some kill shots on our side.
Mm-hmm.
So it speaks to what could have happened at the mission had any of Ambassador Stevens' pleas to be heard. And then additionally, it's very clear from the Senate report, and I published a Senate report, the Benghazi report.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a foreword that walks people right through this. It's a thrilling read. It's only an 85-page read. I include the additional views of a group of senators and vice chairman of the committee, which are absolute must-reading. I'm talking about Saxe Chambliss,
mm-hmm.
Richard Burr, Senator Marco Rubio, Tom Coburn, fine men who are on this committee, in my view, who cut to the chase, which is America was attacked by al-Qaeda. Hillary moved to cover it up. Her people, the so-called talking points, which were already massaged by the CIA, they added this fiction about the video to try to make this look spontaneous. I mean, look at the operation on the ground. Military commanders. They knew the floor plan. They knew where the safe room was. The 60 of them easily scaled the wall, and we were overrun. At that point, the ambassador went to the safe room.
Let's talk about Clinton for a moment. What was interesting to me during all this, there was Jerry, and I may pronounce his last name wrong, Jerry Seifman. He's now retired general counsel, and he was the chief of staff of the House Judiciary Committee, who supervised Hillary when she worked on Watergate investigation. I think very few people know this. And he came in on this, and he said, man, she is just a very unethical person, unethical behavior. He said it goes back farther than this.
Well, I think that's going to be the point if she runs. I mean, we're going to have to revisit her role in the travel office,
right?
Where she had public servants without a blemish in their record, who in fact we now know did nothing wrong, arrested and dragged off the job so she could deliver control of the ticket business, the White House ticket business, to an Arkansas airline ticket broker.
Why is she getting a pass on this?
Well, you shouldn't assume that she's getting a pass on it. She's getting a pass on it so far from the mainstream media. But if she chooses to run, the Democrats would have us believe that she's vetted and that all these issues have been aired and nobody cares about. Everybody knows about them, and no one obviously cares about them because she's so popular in the polls. The truth is, 40% of the voters today don't remember the Clinton presidency. They have no idea what we're talking about. When you say Travelgate, they don't know what that is. Bill Clinton, no, that's that nice white-haired guy. Everybody said he did a good job. That's before my time. Those people need to be filled in, Phil. That's how this election is going to be won. They need to know the real Hillary, the Hillary who ran the campaign of terror against the various bimbos that Bill hooked up with to shut them up so they could win the next election. And she's the one pulling the strings on that, and that can be proven. Now,
here's what got me is the timing of this. So, U.S. Ambassador Susan Rice, after the attack, there was a meeting in I assume the Oval Office of the CIA FBI Joint Chief, and now they know the truth. But then 3 days later, she goes on TV on the Sunday shows. But here's what I didn't get: after she goes on the Sunday shows, she's promoted. She gets a promotion.
Well, that's she's not only promoted, but they make her a national security advisor. Why? Because now anything she knows is executive privilege. No one ever gets a crack at her again about how to asking questions about this. They've got her in a place where she can't talk.
Smart.
Brilliant. It's as brilliant as Barack Obama putting Hillary Clinton in as Secretary of State. Take your worst enemy and make them your best friend.
Wow.
I mean, this way the Clintons can't shoot at him from outside the tent because they really like the center ring. They're not happy about this fellow from Chicago. Not at all.
You were very, with a few minutes we have left, you were very close to Ronald Reagan. If he were alive today and he was looking at this, what would he say?
Well, he'd want to know why we would ever put a political consideration ahead of the lives of Americans. I mean, he would have. First of all, I don't think Bill Casey would have sat around while we didn't arm this embassy.
I don't think so.
I don't think any of Jim Baker would never have agreed to this when he was Secretary of State. Never. So it's bad. It's playing politics again with the government. So what do we know? Here's the bottom line: the one time in her life she's had executive power, she's abused it.
Boy.
I mean, before she was one of 100 U.S. senators, so she had some authority, obviously, but she needed 50 others to get anything done.
Roger, with the races and all this going on right now, I mean, can the Republicans still screw this up, the Senate races, and then finally the presidential race?
I think the Republican Party is going to have a very good cycle because the makeup of the voters is always better in the off year, and because, yes, the administration, I think, a group that will lie to you about health care will lie to you about Benghazi and vice versa. So telling people, because it's what our polls say, yes, tell them they can keep their plans. Tell them they can keep their doctors, even though it's not true.
Right.
I think the bloom's off the rose. This guy, and he was thin to begin with. Where's the economic growth? People, across the country are hurting.
With
places like upstate New York, places like Central Florida.
With 20 seconds left, talk to my listeners about what you think's going to happen with this coming up, this election, with this Senate. What's your opinion?
Well, I've got a Senate prediction up. I urge people to go to StoneZone.com. StoneZone.com. You can also buy the Benghazi book there.
Oh yeah, buy that book. Listen,
believe me, it will just
Roger.
you'll pass it on.
We got to get you back on. Thank you so much for coming.